Michael Landon. The name alone evokes warmth, integrity, and a presence that millions invited into their homes every week. As Charles Ingalls on Little House on the Prairie, he became more than an actor. He became a father, a moral compass, a steady heartbeat in the lives of viewers who felt every laugh, every struggle, and every tear alongside him. Standing on the set, decades after the show first aired in 1974, Landon carried not just a role but a responsibility to tell stories of family, love, and perseverance with honesty and grace. By the time the final episode aired on March 21, 1983, the quiet weight of goodbye settled over Walnut Grove. Behind the scenes, Landon took the reins as director, guiding his cast through an ending that balanced heartbreak and hope, ensuring every scene reflected the truths he held dear. The crew remembers his meticulous care, his insistence on authenticity, and the subtle grief in his eyes as he shepherded the story to its conclusion. This wasn't just the end of a television show. It was a human farewell, a final chapter crafted by a man whose life and work were inseparable from the values he portrayed on screen. Michael Landon's last episode left audiences with a lingering ache, a testament to the man behind the beloved Charles Ingalls. Michael Landon, born on October 27, 1936, in Forest Hills, Queens, New York, he entered the world with a quiet determination that would come to define his life and career. The youngest of three children, Michael's early years were shaped by a mix of creativity, resilience, and an unspoken drive to connect with others through storytelling. His father, Maurice, a construction worker and musician, and his mother, Peggy, instilled in him a sense of discipline and the importance of family, a theme that would become central not only to his personal life but to the roles he would inhabit decades later. Before Little House on the Prairie, Michael Landon had already carved out a space in television history. By 1959, he had appeared in small film and TV roles, but it was Bonanza, which premiered in 1959, that transformed him into a household name. Playing Little Joe Cartwright, Michael became known for a mix of charm, sincerity, and an innate understanding of human emotion. He wasn't just acting. He was embodying a young man defined by loyalty, courage, and moral integrity. By the late 1960s, Bonanza had cemented him as one of television's most recognizable figures, a man whose presence carried warmth and relatability, qualities that audiences trusted and adored. Yet Michael Landon's ambitions extended beyond performing. In 1974, he made the pivotal transition from Bonanza to Little House on the Prairie. He didn't merely sign on as an actor, he became a guiding force behind the series, taking on writing, producing, and eventually directing responsibilities. Little House represented a different kind of storytelling, one rooted in family, morality, and the quiet struggles of everyday life. For Landon, it was a project that aligned closely with his personal values, a space where he could shape narratives that reflected the virtues he held dear: integrity, love, perseverance, and the profound bonds of family. Portraying Charles Ingalls was not just a role for Michael Landon, it was a life lesson rendered on screen. He poured himself into every gesture, every line, every moment, with the kind of care that only comes from deep empathy and personal conviction. The man behind the camera, and in front of it, understood that storytelling was more than entertainment. It was a bridge between his values and the millions of people who welcomed him into their homes every week. Landon's Charles Ingalls was patient, tender, and steadfast, qualities he carried off-screen in his interactions with cast, crew, and even fans. He treated Little House as a collaborative family, mirroring the very principles the show celebrated, and his investment in the role went far beyond performance. There was an intimacy in Landon's approach to Charles Ingalls that could not be faked. He understood human vulnerability, the quiet bravery of everyday life, and the power of consistency. His portrayal of a father navigating hardships, joys, and moral dilemmas reflected not only a carefully crafted character, but also Landon's own vision of love, commitment, and resilience. Audiences didn't just watch him, they recognized the sincerity in his performance, sensing that the values Charles lived by were inseparable from the man who brought him to life. By the time the series fully took shape in 1974, Michael Landon was more than an actor returning to television. He was a storyteller with a mission. Every choice, from plot lines to direction, carried a personal weight. Little House on the Prairie was not just a continuation of his career. It was the embodiment of his own humanity, a project where every challenge on set, every long day of shooting, was a testament to his dedication to truth, emotion, and the enduring power of family. Through Charles Ingalls, Michael Landon offered audiences a mirror of hope, loyalty, and love, and it is this deeply human investment that would make his final episode decades later feel not just poignant, but heartbreakingly intimate. On March 21, 1983, he guided the cast and crew through the final chapter of Little House on the Prairie, an episode that would forever mark the end of an era. This was more than a closing story. It was a culmination of nearly a decade of devotion, both on screen and behind the camera. Landon, who had already worn the hats of actor, producer, and writer throughout the series, stepped into the role of director for the finale, personally shaping every scene to ensure it resonated with authenticity and emotional truth. The storyline of the final episode reflected the quiet, enduring rhythms of the Ingalls family's life. Charles and Caroline Ingalls faced the bittersweet transitions of their children growing up, decisions that would lead them toward new paths, and the subtle tension of letting go while remaining tethered by love. Mary and Laura, now adults, were preparing for their own futures, yet the episode lingered on moments of connection, shared meals, tender conversations, and fleeting glances that spoke volumes. Each scene captured the ordinary heroism of family life, the patience, the steadfastness, the daily courage of facing uncertainty together. He moved through the story with a gentle authority, offering comfort and guidance, while quietly acknowledging the passage of time. Behind the camera, the production was imbued with a tangible mixture of pride and sorrow. Cast members later reflected on the gravity of the day. Melissa Sue Anderson, who played Mary, recalled the solemnity of filming the final family dinner, where every line carried the weight of years spent growing together on set. Karen Grassel, who portrayed Caroline, described Landon's meticulous attention to detail, ensuring that even the smallest gestures, Charles wiping a tear, Caroline pausing before speaking, communicated the depth of the family bond. Crew members documented how Landon maintained an atmosphere of quiet respect, acknowledging the end of a series that had become a second home to them all. There were no grand speeches, no dramatics, just a careful, intentional farewell shaped by a man deeply invested in both the story and the people who brought it to life. The impact on the audience was immediate and profound. Nielsen ratings from the week confirmed that the finale drew millions of viewers, making it one of the most watched episodes of the series. Letters poured into NBC from fans expressing gratitude, sorrow, and reflection. Many described watching the episode with family members and feeling a sense of shared loss as Charles Ingalls' story came to a close. The final scenes, quiet yet resonant, left audiences with a lingering ache, the feeling of saying goodbye to people who had been part of their lives for years. Newspapers and television critics highlighted the emotional precision of the finale, noting that Landon's direction ensured the episode honored both the characters and the viewers who had grown alongside them. Michael Landon's personal investment in the final episode extended far beyond his own performance. As director, he made deliberate choices to foreground the intimacy of family life, the small but meaningful gestures that defined the Ingalls relationships, and the gentle passage of time. He understood that the audience had journeyed with him for nearly a decade, and he honored that commitment with a finale that was quietly powerful, emotionally resonant, and deeply human. In doing so, Landon transformed a television episode into a farewell that was more than storytelling. It was a shared, heartfelt goodbye, etched indelibly into the memory of everyone who watched. His presence on set was more than leadership. It was an anchor, a source of steadiness that every cast member felt deeply, especially as the series approached its final chapter. In interviews over the years, those who worked closest with him spoke with a tenderness that revealed how profoundly he shaped their lives. Melissa Gilbert recalled how Landon became a father figure to her, guiding her through childhood and adolescence with the same compassion Charles Ingalls showed on screen. Karen Grassel described him as demanding but generous, a man who pushed for excellence not out of ego, but out of a genuine desire to honor the stories they were telling. Even the younger cast members remembered his warmth, how he took time to explain scenes, settle nerves, and make them feel like they were part of something meaningful. To them, Michael Landon wasn't just a star, he was the heartbeat of the set. Behind those warm memories lay values Landon carried into every facet of his work. Dedication to family, honesty, and faith shaped who he was long before Little House on the Prairie ever aired in 1974. He believed in stories that elevated ordinary people, tales of perseverance, forgiveness, and the strength found in quiet acts of love. Those values weren't a performance. They were the compass by which he lived. And because of that, Charles Ingalls was never merely a character. He was an extension of Landon's own convictions. Cast members repeatedly remarked that the kindness viewers saw on screen wasn't crafted. It was real. His leadership style reflected the same firm when necessary, but always grounded in respect, always rooted in care. It was this integrity that made the final episode, which aired on March 21, 1983, feel like a loss far deeper than the end of a television series. Viewers who had grown up with the Ingalls family felt the weight of the goodbye in ways that surprised even the network. Letters poured into NBC from families across the country, some written in neat cursive, some scrawled in children's handwriting, describing how they gathered in living rooms, sharing the last hour of a show that had shaped their childhoods. Many spoke of shedding tears as Charles looked out across Walnut Grove with that familiar mixture of strength and vulnerability. Others expressed gratitude for the lessons Landon had woven into the fabric of the series: courage, humility, forgiveness, love. Newspapers echoed this sentiment. Critics called the finale quietly devastating, a tender farewell, and a reminder of what television once was: simple, moral, and human. Many noted how rare it was for a show to end not with spectacle, but with sincerity, and how perfectly that sincerity reflected Landon's vision. Families debated scenes at dinner tables, teachers discussed it with students, and communities shared memories of watching the series through the years. The final episode wasn't just viewed, it was felt. And woven through all of that emotion was the unmistakable imprint of Michael Landon. It was his sensitivity that gave the Ingalls family their depth, his discipline that shaped the show's pace, his empathy that turned simple frontier stories into profound reflections on life and love. Cast members knew it, viewers felt it, and long after the screen faded to black, those values, his values, continued to live in the hearts of everyone who watched. In the end, the grief surrounding the final episode wasn't only about saying goodbye to Walnut Grove. It was about saying goodbye to the man who made millions believe in the beauty of ordinary life. Michael Landon didn't just direct the finale. He crafted a human farewell that remains one of the most intimate goodbyes in television history. His work on Little House on the Prairie reached far beyond the boundaries of a weekly television series. From its first episode in 1974, the show reshaped the landscape of American family storytelling. At a time when television was shifting toward faster plots and modern settings, Little House slowed everything down. It asked viewers to sit with the quiet struggles of daily life, to recognize small acts of kindness as heroic, and to see family not as perfection, but as perseverance. Generations of viewers grew up learning that strength could be gentle, that leadership could be tender, and that love could be steady and unspoken. Schools used episodes to teach lessons about empathy, forgiveness, and history. Families gathered each week to watch something they could all share, a rarity even in the 1970s. The simplicity of Walnut Grove became a cultural touchstone. a reminder of values rooted in community, resilience, and decency. Decades later, reruns continued to find new audiences, proving that the heart of the series carried a timeless resonance. The show was more than entertainment. It became part of the emotional architecture of American memory. Michael Landon's influence extended far beyond the finale. After Little House, he poured the same compassion, moral depth, and human-centered storytelling into later projects such as Highway to Heaven, which premiered in 1984. The themes remained consistent: hope in hardship, dignity in struggle, and an unwavering belief in the goodness of people. His ability to blend sorrow and healing, humor and heartbreak, made his later work instantly recognizable. Audiences trusted him because they sensed he understood them. They sensed that the father they loved in Charles Ingalls lived on through every role he chose and every story he shaped. Even in public memory, Landon's name remained tied to values that outlast trends and eras. Interviews with cast and crew continued to surface long after his passing, each one reflecting the same respect, admiration, and tenderness. Fans wrote letters for years, describing how his work helped them through grief, loneliness, and fear. Others shared how the moral clarity of his characters influenced the way they raised their children. For many, Landon became a symbol of stability in a changing world, a storyteller whose work felt like a steady hand on the shoulder. Little House on the Prairie received numerous recognitions that affirmed its cultural importance. The series earned several Emmy nominations during its run, including nods for outstanding cinematography, music composition, and acting. It also received a Western Heritage Award, acknowledging its contribution to telling meaningful stories rooted in American history and identity. Though it did not collect a vast number of statues, its true legacy was measured in its longevity, its influence, and its emotional reach. Landon himself earned recognition throughout his career, including accolades for his acting, directing, and writing across multiple series. His peers praised his discipline, his vision, and his commitment to creating work that carried emotional and moral weight. In the larger tapestry of television history, Little House on the Prairie stands not only as a beloved family drama, but as a testament to the impact of sincerity. Michael Landon's values, family, faith, compassion, honesty, shaped the soul of the show and continued to echo through every project he touched. His legacy lives on in the hearts of the millions who watched him, learned from him, and felt a little less alone because of the stories he told. In the end, watching Michael Landon's final episode wasn't just witnessing the close of a beloved television chapter, it was watching a man say goodbye in the only way he knew how, through the characters he shaped and the stories he poured his heart into. The heartbreak of that moment reaches far beyond the screen. It is the ache of realizing that a familiar face, a guiding presence, and a quiet source of comfort was walking away from a place that had defined so many lives, including his own. When we look back on the facts, the poignancy deepens. His final episode aired in 1983, closing more than a decade of work that reshaped family television. Michael Landon's artistic journey from Bonanza to Little House on the Prairie to Highway to Heaven became a cultural constant for millions. His storytelling, grounded in dignity and emotional truth, carried forward values that American families held close, making him one of the most defining television figures of his time. We can all learn something from Michael Landon's farewell, that devotion to one's craft, one's family, and one's values becomes the truest measure of a life well lived. For more emotional stories, check out this video.